Hello, I'm doing a book review, and the book I want to review is Swan Song by Robert R. McCammon. Now, Swan Song, I did a review for this book a long time ago. It was actually one of my first book reviews, but I took that video down because I did a god-awful job at reviewing the book, so I decided to re-review the book, and I'm not promising that this review is going to be any better than my old review on the book, but I'm at least going to attempt to make this review a little better than my old one. Now, Swan Song is a post-apocalyptic novel which was published in 1987, and basically it's set after the events of a nuclear war, and it revolves around three pairs of characters, and basically the book starts out where it talks about these three pairs of characters separately, but eventually the three pairs of characters do meet each other, and the whole book is set over the course of 7 years. Now, the main character of the book is a young girl named Susan Wanda, who goes by the name Swan in the book. Basically, the book starts out where she's a 9-year-old girl, but towards the end of the, by the second half of the book, she's a 16-year-old girl, because the whole book is set over the course of 7 years. So, what happens is, it turns out that this girl, Swan, actually has supernatural powers, and I don't want to say exactly what these supernatural powers are, but, basically she may very well be the last hope for the human race. Like, her powers are something that could possibly prevent the human race from extinction, but what happens is she's being taken care of now by a man named Joshua Hutchins, who, before the world ended, he was a professional wrestler who went by the nickname Black Frankenstein, and Joshua Hutchins is a very large African-American man, and what happens is, basically, after the bombs hit, Susan's mother, or Swan's mother, is killed, and Joshua basically takes care of her, and basically throughout the book, Joshua and Swan basically have a father-daughter kind of relationship with each other, and and basically Joshua is basically like Swan's guardian. He's the one who has to protect Swan from whatever, tries to harm her. And Joshua actually does realize early on that Swan has supernatural powers. Now, another pair of characters in this book who you follow is Roland Crowinger and Colonel James P. Macklin. Now, Colonel Macklin was a war colonel, and what happens is him and Roland met each other at a place called Earth House, which was supposed to be like a nuclear bomb shelter, and basically Roland's parents were part of a conspiracy group that thought that the world was going to end, and of course they were right, and basically after the bombs hit, basically something apparently like Earth House was like built like crap, so when the bombs hit, things get really messed up in Earth House, and basically everybody dies in Earth House except for Roland and Colonel Macklin. And what happens is Colonel Macklin ends up taking Roland Crowinger in, and he raises Roland Crowinger, and basically, but while Swan and Joshua had kind of a father-daughter kind of relationship, the relationship between Colonel Macklin and Roland Crowinger is more of a teacher-slash-pupil relationship. But you can tell that they do have kind of a love for each other, but it's not as strong or as like the love that Swan and Joshua have for each other. But basically, Colonel Macklin, he's one of the villains of the book, because what happens is him and Roland end up meeting other survivors, and eventually they form what they call the Army of Excellence, and basically, by the second half of the book, the Army of Excellence has already taken over most of what's left of America, and basically Colonel Macklin, he wants to take over what's left of the United States of America, and the next pair of characters who you follow is a woman named Sister Creep. You never find out what her real name is, but she was a street preacher who went by the nickname Sister Creep, and what happens is after the bombs hit, she found this ring, which actually has supernatural powers. Like, she finds this magical glass ring, and in the ring she can see the future, basically. And what happens is she's now being pursued by a man who's referred to in the book as the man with the Scarlet Eye. And basically the man with the Scarlet Eye is a demon who has the ability to shapeshift, and he's going after Sister Creep because basically this glass ring is actually leading Sister Creep to Swan and Joshua, and Swan, of course, has these supernatural powers which could prevent the human race from being extinct, and that's what this demon is trying to prevent, because this demon wants to see the human race get completely wiped out. So, eventually in the book, these three pairs of characters do meet each other, and eventually the Army of Excellence ends up falling under the command of the man with the Scarlet Eye, and and now Swan becomes a target for the man with the Scarlet Eye. Yes, Swan Song I thought was a great book. This is a great post-apocalyptic novel. Now, when this was first published, I don't believe it was very successful, because a lot of people said at the time that this was a ripoff of The Stand by Stephen King. And I will say there are a lot of similarities between this and The Stand by Stephen King. One of them being, like, this book does have a lot of religious undertones in it, kind of like The Stand did, but I still consider this to be a different book than The Stand, and I don't like comparing the two books because they're both good books, but to me they're both different books in their own right. But yeah, Swan Song is a great book. I definitely recommend it, and Robert R. McCammon, I think, is a very criminally underrated author. I only read 2 of his other books, but both of them were great books. I read a book called Mine by him, which I already did a review for, and I also read a book called Boy's Life, which Boy's Life is probably one of my top 5 favorite books of all time, and eventually I'm going to do a review on Boy's Life at some point, but yeah, if you haven't read Swan Song, I definitely recommend it if you're a fan of post-apocalyptic novels, and bye.